All right, what's good, everybody? Another short stream today because I got work and my time management skills still suck, same as yesterday. But we're not gonna make excuses for ourselves, and even if we only get in 30 minutes, 30 minutes of work is better than 0 minutes of work. It's honestly infinitely times bigger amount of work. Yeah. As always, got my coffee with me. Of course, we got our curiosity with us. So let's, without further ado, let's get into some Renshu, some Japanese practice. All right, we have 45 terms to review. Of course, starting with hiragana as we normally do. Det is going to be, I believe that's this one. Nice. We've got Ryo. I almost said Ryu, but nope, Ryo. We've got Chu, which is going to be Chi plus U, which is not this one right here. Lovely jubbly. We got Zet, which is, I believe it's that one. Nice, cool. O is going to be right here. Ja is going to be G plus Ya, so right here. We've got Gyo, which is going to be Gi plus Yo. We've got, I believe this is, I want to say, Zo. Nice. Okay, cool. We've got Bo, which is going to be B plus. Actually, no, it's just going to be Bo, which is right here. We've got Bio, which is going to be, I believe that's this one. Nice. We've got a little notey right here, letting us know that we're doing pretty good. This is Ki. This is going to be, I want to say Day. It's Be. Okay. We've got Pyo, which is going to be this one right here. Ki is right here. Cha, I mean. Gotta remember the subjugations. Pyu is going to be right here. No is this one right here. We've got Q right here. Ba is going to be this one right here. We've got Da, which is going to be this one, I believe. Nice. I believe this one is Sa. I believe this to be U. Jo. New is right here. Get is going to be right there. We've got, is it D slash G? It is. Nice. We've got Hia. All right, this one is, I believe that's U. Nice. We've got Pet. Ra is right there. She is right there. It's the hook. We've got Ket. Zat. I believe that to be this one. Nice. Gya is right there. Chi. Ji. Shu. This one. Kyo. Right there. Ko. And then Kia. Alright, we only missed one. Let's excuse me. Alright. This one is, I believe, Bamin. 98%, not too shabby. Oh, I can evolve them like a Pokemon or something. Cool. Oh, what's going on here? Is that the evolution? I'm so confused. So many questions, but at the same time, I don't have time to answer them. So we're just gonna continue studying and finish off our hiragana practice for the day. Nyo is going to be Ni plus Yo. Ret is this one, I believe. Nice. This one is okay, wah. Damn. So low key. Riat is right there. I believe that's Tep. All right. And we said that's WAP. 80%. For sure, Ski want to aim for a better percent, but you know, that's all good. We got the little common cloud pull, rain cloud pull. All right. As for Katakana, we're going to do some Katakana review as well. Did not mean to go here. Settings, focused review. Bump it up to Forte. Alrighty. Mo is right here. This one's Sa. Ka. No. I. Ko. Ra. Ru. Because it's Remen. I don't know. Wrong one. Oof. Alright. Tsu. I believe that is. Is it the more vertical one? Nice. Let's go. We got. Let me take a little swiggeroni of coffee real quick. My brain juice is activated. Nice. All right. We've got Ya. We've got To, which is going to be, I believe it's this guy right there. We got Re for Remen. We got Ma. Mi. Et. Ku. Ta. Ta. Et. Wa. Freak. Okay. I got them mixed up. So the one I selected was the U, obviously, as it says right there. Oh no. Yeah. If you're getting that one right, there's no excuse. We'll just do better next time. All right. You. This is going to be neat. Net. Keep. Tap. Oh. Oh. No. The N is going to be. I know which one it is. I just got to scratch my eyeball. It's this one. Oh. Geet. We got. Rope. Because it's like a robot head. Gu. Mu. Su. So. Get is right there. Set is right there. And then, let's see. Heat. Nice. Last but not least, we have. Ooh. All right, we missed one. And we said that this one is right there. Nice, cool. All right, 98%. Lovely jubbly. We got a cool little pull right here. Not sure. I mean, obviously, it's like a bamboo stick. Kind of a crazy looking picture, not gonna lie. What's that? Cog goal. Yeah. Ime? Me low key. Let's see if we got it right. Something's telling me I kind of butchered that completely. Ah, Princess Kaguya Hime. Hey, bet. I got it right. Nice. Kaguya Hime. Alrighty. Let's finish our katakana. Ah, shit. Not mean to learn there. 5 to review. Gonna let me study. Oh, alright. We'll just move. Oh, we have a bonus. Hell yeah. Let's go. Alright. Let's move into words. Study our words. This is going to be heiya, which is, I believe, room. Nice. This is isogashi. Isogashi is, I believe that's busy. Nice. We have got gakse. Gakse, I believe here. Ah, damn. I was gonna select student. Oh wait, no, I wasn't. It's a complete lie. What was the one? Koko is here. Okay.
学生
Gakse. All right. This is going to be oishi, which I believe that's cheap. Sheesh. I'm selling right now. Hansamu, handsome. We've got Nichiopi, which is Sunday. We have got Genki, which is right there. Yasui, that's cheap. Okay, bet. Hima, I believe this is spare time. We've got UI. It's gotta be sheesh, famous one.
有名
Yume, okay. Yume, sorry. I am off today when it comes to the words, but you know, it's all good. That's sushi. We've got was that Kaishan? Not Japanese person.
会社員
Kaishain. Alright. This is going to be Ku Kyo Yu. Yeah.
今
Okay. Yeah, I'm folding major hard like a piece of paper on this. Duyobi. Japanese person. That's going to be, of course, be Nihonjin. We've got Koko, which is here, this place. And then you is going to be not that one. Not that one. It's this one.
あなた
Anata. Alright. We missed 4. It's not too terrible for our standards. We'll take that. Yume, I believe, is famous, well known.
有名
Nice. We've got Gakusai, which is going to be student.
学生
Gakusei, rather. We got Oishi, which is good tasting.
おいしい
All right. And then right here we have Kyo, which I believe is today.
今
Kyo. Okay. Oh wow. Kind of a wild looking poll right here. Might go for something on the market, who knows. All right, focused review. Movie. So let's do 20 terms. Spare time, free time, leisure. We said that is that one.
暇
Hima. Shiken is exam. Nichiobi is Sunday. Student is going to be I want to say Gakusai, but we're going to go through the other options and think it through. Yeah, it is Gakusai.
学生
Gakusei, rather. Alright. Oishi. We said that is good. Tasty.
おいしい
Oshi. Karuma is right here. Tomorrow is Ashita. Pen is going to be this one. Isha is doctor. This indicating an item near the speaker. Is that kore?
こ
Nice.
れ
Kore. Alright. Genki is lively, full of spirit. Busy, occupied, hectic. Let's see. It's not Hansamu. It's not Hima. I don't think it's. Might get this one wrong, but gotta keep the mentality with us. Isogashi. The Isogashi. Hey, let's go.
忙しい
Let's go. This is an American person. Amerikajin. Right there. Takai. This is going to be Enpitsu. Sushi. Kai Shine. Kai Shine. I know it's that one though.
会社員
Kai Shine. Famous, well known. That's gonna be. It's not Genki. It's not Shinsetsu. Irogashi or Yume. It's Yume.
有
Nice.
名
Yume. Cheap, inexpensive, calm, peaceful. That's Yasui. Cool. And last but not least, Mutsugashi. Difficult, hard, impossible. Straight hundreds all around. We'll take that for sure, ski. Cool little chocolate bar pull. Let me take a look and see how much time we have left. Probably not a lot. Definitely not a lot. All right. Oh, we actually got a little bit of time. Nice. Alrighty. We can force probably 30 more minutes. I suppose we go through and learn maybe some more Japanese basics. Alright. Please move the sentence pieces and complete the sentence. Oh, yeah. Why is this so small? Let me zoom in. Okay. We've got Haritashi. Okay. So Reitashi, I believe that is I, slightly formal or feminine. I think we said this comes last. Probably wrong. Yeah, we got it wrong.
私は学生です 私は学生です。
私は学生です。Alrighty. I'm probably gonna not do well here. Let's see. Janai. I am not free tomorrow. Where's Ashta? There's Ashta. I guess we are there. What is this one? This one is Hima. Move that one there. That one there. That one there. Oof. All sorts are wrong. Holy cow. We are folding like a piece of paper. There. There. I don't even know. Nice. Yeah, we're folding. Bit off a little bit more than I could chew. It's all good. Gonna have to for sure look at how to kind of type sentences and structuring them. I think for these last 30 minutes, might change gears and watch a cool little, I guess, engineering video maybe. All right, what looks interesting? Guess we watched this. This looks rather
over
interesting.
2,000 lessons, over 100 videos for free. Yes, all the content on boot.dev is completely free. All the lesson explanation.
Fresh water may soon flow from the depths of the ocean to drought-stricken coastal cities. A handful of companies are betting that crushing deep-sea pressures can replace the energy-hungry pumps and toxic chemicals that are desalination's inconvenient truth. By going the extra quarter mile into the ocean, they're pioneering a way to turn salt water into fresh water, slashing costs, curbing pollution, and reducing environmental harm in the process.
Pretty cool.
How on
pretty
Earth
cool.
or under Earth does this even work? And could it solve our global water crisis? I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided. This video is brought to you by Incogni. A handful of companies are looking to replace the deep pressure of a reverse
He bamboozled us. I thought he was about to get into an ad. I was about to be like, skip around.
Using 400 meters or about 1,300 feet of system.
Umbilical cord, bro.
Driven pressure of a reverse osmosis or a handful of companies are looking to replace the pump-driven pressure of a reverse osmosis or RO desalination system with deep sea pressures using 400 meters or about 1,300 feet of hydrostatic pressure as an alternative energy source to powering those pumps with fossil fuels. You know that pain in your ear is when you dive to the bottom of a swimming pool? Well, now multiply that by 100. That's the kind of force that these companies are harnessing. They plan to install entire farms of desalination pods on the seafloor, like those 13-meter or 40-foot tall pods that have been designed by Oceanwell in California. Before getting into exactly how they're doing this, there's the question of why? Why dive to these depths when we can already do RO on shore? Well, the southwestern U.S. is suffering from drought so severe that Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the Colorado River Basin, has 150-foot tall bathtub rings around its edges, marking where the water level stood just a few decades ago.
Lake Mead.
40 million people in 7 states rely on the Colorado River, but the lands it flows through are the driest they've been in 1,200 years. The water crisis is reshaping daily life, stalling hydropower plants, triggering citywide water restrictions, and driving farmers to abandon their fields. History is full of civilizations brought to their knees by water shortages. The ancestral Puebloans abandoned their massive cliff dwellings in the American Southwest after decades of dry years. A mega drought
assume
helped
those
to
are like
topple the Ming Dynasty in
hailing from
China.
maybe
And
Mexico
the Dust
or
Bowl
like
of the 1930s
South
saw much of
American
the Great
country.
Plains become an unlivable wasteland. But whereas these droughts lasted less than 20 years each, the Southwest is in its 25th year with no end in sight. Earth's climate is changing, and multi-year droughts are becoming much more frequent.
One thing I will say about these, like Earth's climate change and all that shit, is like, and like I'm not saying we don't add to it, but I mean, the history of Earth is that of its climate continuously changing. It's kind of I don't want to say egotistical, but it's kind of untruthful to pretend like it's gonna stop changing if we, you know, regardless of what we do.
More severe and more expensive as they continue to spread. Each year, an additional area the size of Vermont and New Hampshire combined succumbs to drought. Yet global populations...
You know, I wasn't saying that we don't have an effect, because we absolutely do, but the truth of the matter is that Earth's climate will continue to change regardless of us here being here or not.
Keep growing and urbanizing, placing even greater demands on limited water supplies. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What we're doing right now works, but it has its challenges. For instance, on California's coast, the Carlsbad desalination plant is stepping in where the Colorado River is falling short, turning salt water into fresh water to cover 7% of San Diego County's needs. It's part of a growing global trend, desalinating seawater and brackish water to supply fresh water for drinking, industry, and even agriculture. In 2024, roughly 21,000 desalination plants operated across roughly 150 countries from the United States to Southeast Asia, with half of the world's desalination capacity located in the Middle East and North Africa. More than 3/4 of these plants use a technique called reverse osmosis, or RO, as I mentioned before. Well, RO forces salt water against a membrane with microscopic pores that let water molecules through but hold back the larger salts, as well as microbes and chemical contaminants. It sounds like a simple solution, but RO comes with some major complications. The first is that it requires a massive amount of energy. RO relies on powerful pumps to brute force water through a membrane, and that takes a lot of electricity, about 3 kilowatt hours per cubic meter or 260 gallons. Back in 2016,
260
global
gallons is a
desalination
lot.
capacity stood at 38 billion cubic meters per year, consuming roughly 75 terawatt hours of electricity, as much as the entire country of Chile used that same exact year. And that with freshwater demand rising, capacity is expected to more than double by 2050. But with great power comes great emissions. RO plants rely almost entirely on fossil fuels, making desalination a major source of CO2, nitrogen, and sulfur dioxides, and small particulates. In 2016 alone, desalination plants emitted 76 million tons of CO2, a number expected to surge to 218 million tons per year by 2040. And the obvious solution would be to turn to renewable energy. The world's first large-scale RO plant powered by solar panels was completed in Saudi Arabia in 2018 with enough capacity for 150,000 people. But at night, when the sun goes down, the plant's environmental impact goes up as it switches to grid power. So when we can't use the sun, where do we find a 100% sustainable, round-the-clock power source? Well, look no further than Ocean Wells desalinating pods in the depths of the ocean. But before we plunge into that deep-sea solution, literally, let's take a quick break. Because while the ocean might solve our water crisis, today's sponsor is focused on something a little more personal.
There's a skipperoni.
The idea we come back to OCRO, or DSRO, is as old as RO itself. Back in the 1960s, the thought of installing and powering pumps at depth was just a bit too far out. Today, that's no longer the case. At places like the Ormenlange gas field off Norway's coast, wellheads on the seafloor connect to a shared subsea hub that supplies electricity and pumps the gas ashore through a pipeline. It's the same hub-and-spoke model now being proposed for deep-sea desalination. This all works because companies like Norway's F-Subsea have developed pumps that both stay watertight at extraordinary depths and rarely need maintenance. Also headquartered in Norway is Flotion, which is a direct spin-off of F-Subsea, taking technology originally designed to extract fossil fuels and repurposing it to pull fresh water from the ocean more sustainably. Now this is still reverse osmosis, but about 40% more energy efficient at only 1.7 to 2.1 kilowatt hours per cubic meter of fresh water. That's because instead of building pressure against the saltwater side of the membrane, deep-sea RO pumps get a much easier task, creating suction on the freshwater side to keep water flowing through and moving towards the shore. Beyond these energy and cost savings, another Norwegian company, Waterize, expects that moving RO offshore will shrink the land area needed by 80 to 95%. That's crucial in urban areas like Los Angeles, where Ocean Well is partnering with the Las Vergenes Municipal Water District to build its first deep-sea water farm. Space is also at a premium along the built-up shores of the Mediterranean and on the tiny island nation of the Maldives. Two locations that Flow Ocean is targeting for its own deep-sea RO pods. While deep-sea RO doesn't need much land, it does need depth. 300 to 600 meters of it, or about 1,000 to 2,000 feet. And to reach that, Flow Ocean says its RO pods will sit up to 6 miles or 10 kilometers offshore. That means miles of pipelines to shore and long, expensive umbilical cables to deliver power to the pumps, which is one reason deep-sea RO has not been done at scale to be cost-effective.
I couldn't find another word for it other than umbilical cables.
Imagines a time when these underwater RO
I can't be the only one that when I hear umbilical cable, I think of umbilical cord. That's just kind of weird in this regard.
Reducing their onshore footprint even more. If you're questioning the environmental impact of putting RO pods on the seafloor, consider the alternative, because traditional RO has a serious sustainability problem. Land-based RO burns through huge amounts of energy to pressurize water against a membrane. That means plants have an economic incentive to squeeze as much fresh water as possible. 50% of their intake goes back into the ocean, carrying 100% of the original salts. That's a doubly salty brine, not even mentioning the chemical cocktail used to pre-treat seawater before it even reaches the membrane. This heavy brine sinks to the seafloor, stressing fish and other sea creatures that aren't adapted to such extreme salinities. And as water gets saltier, it holds less oxygen, suffocating life on the seabed. And this is a massive problem. Over 155 million tons of brine get dumped into the ocean every single day. Some plants blast brine into coastal waters to mix it more thoroughly, while others trickle it along the shoreline or dilute it with other wastewater discharges. But instead of just managing brine, deep-sea RO disperses it altogether. Because deep-sea pressures are unlimited, there's no pressure to squeeze every last drop of fresh water out of the salt water the same way land-based RO plants do.
Since in reverse osmosis, the water is filtered by pushing the water through like a tiny filter that the salt particles can't go through. They're using the deep-sea pressure as a substitute for some of the power that would otherwise be required. Actually pretty smart.
Ocean Well claims that its system merely sips salt water, returning 85 to 95% of it back to the ocean with only a slight increase in salinity. And to keep the brine from settling on the seafloor or drifting back into the intake, Ocean Well's pods pump it higher into the water column where currents carry it away. And those nasty pre-treatment chemicals that I mentioned? Well, deep-sea RO dodges them entirely, thanks to one key difference from land-based systems. RO membranes clog easily for microorganisms in seawater and mineral buildup. To prevent this, land-based RO plants pre-filter the seawater with plastic-based filters. Then they add biocides like chlorine to kill the microbes, but because chlorine damages RO membranes, it has to be neutralized with yet another chemical, bisulfite. You're basically treating the treatment at that point. More chemicals adjust the water's pH, and scale inhibitors keep minerals like carbonate and phosphate from clogging pipes up. It all adds up. But deep-sea RO pares it back down. These RO pods sit in a perpetual darkness of the ocean's twilight zone, where algae doesn't grow and oxygen levels stay low. With so little life at these depths, Flocean and Ocean Well expect the membranes will stay clean without chemical treatment. Even so, Ocean Well is taking extra steps to protect what little life exists at these depths. The company is developing an intake system that draws seawater through a series of increasingly finer filters and flushes out any marine life that's trapped along the way. This catch-and-release method is designed to return plankton and larvae to the ecosystem while also keeping the filters clear and reducing membrane fouling to keep the pods running maintenance-free for as long as possible. That said, there's yet another sustainability leak deep-sea RO hasn't plugged. Even with all these safeguards, RO membranes don't last forever. There's still consumables that need to be replaced every 5 to 10 years. A 2016 study estimated that 14,000 tons of discarded membranes end up in landfills each year, a number that has only grown as RO desalination has expanded. So what happens when the system eventually clogs up? And how would they even know? Well, Ocean Well says the same umbilical cord that supplies power from shore will send data back from sensors on each pod. These sensors will allow Ocean Well to monitor performance in real time and shut individual pods down as needed, until they can be swapped out for fresh ones. And for now, Ocean Well is focusing on perfecting its filtration system in hopes of a maintenance-free pod. It plans to launch a pilot in 2026 with its first commercial plant serving Los Angeles by 2028.
AI was
The
helping
facility is
speed up that
expected to produce
timeline as well.
95,000 cubic meters or about 25 million gallons per day. That's 28,000 acre-feet per year. Double that to a full-scale farm, and it could supply enough fresh water for a small city. If you're wondering whether replacing pods in pitch-black darkness under crushing pressures a quarter mile deep is complicated, it definitely is. But with decades of subsea experience, Flocean and Waterize are already lowering RO systems onto the seabed. Flocean recently wrapped up a 4-month pilot demonstration at depth and is now preparing to launch a 1,000 cubic meter a day or 260,000 gallon commercial demonstration. So we may be close to having fresh water on tap from the abyss. The age of desalination is here, and the challenge now is making it in an efficient and sustainable way. Deep-sea RO promises to deliver on both, but while it might keep coastal communities afloat, inland regions will still be left high and dry. And to truly secure water in the face of worsening droughts, we can't just make more. We need to make the most of what we do have. That means conserving water, treating and reusing wastewater, and making every drop count. But what do you think? Is DSRO the future of fresh water, or is the idea a lot more shallow once you take a deeper look? Jump into the comments and let me know. And be sure to listen to my follow-up podcast, Still to Be Determined, where we'll keep this conversation going. Thanks as always to my patrons for your continued support and helping to keep the channel going. Keep your mind open, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.
Pretty cool. Pretty radical video. Let me go leave a like ski.
Fresh water may soon...
How do you know an invention is genius? For me, it's that moment when I see it for the first time and I immediately think, hey, why
Watch
didn't
this
I
for a
think of
little
this?
bit, probably like a couple
genius
minutes, and then I'm gonna
invention
have to bounce
seems
like dryer
very
sheets
obvious
because I gotta
and
go to work.
simple once you see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it ever again. And you also somehow can't figure out why it was ever elusive. Why didn't somebody just do it before? Today we're going to talk about just one such invention, the RevForce engine from Alpha Auto Technologies, which is a ultra-powerful, clean, and efficient two-stroke engine. And to understand how it works, we first, of course, must understand what makes a conventional two-stroke engine great, and also what makes it not so great. You see, a two-stroke engine is the best engine ever.
Damn, but he has a dirt bike? How did... Motocross phenom over here.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop this childish display of whatever, because yes, two strokes are fun, no doubt
That's
about
what she
that,
said.
but they also have to burn oil by design, and that means that they're bad both for the environment as well as the people that breathe in this.
There's no way that something that smells this good is bad for the environment.
Okay, that's enough of that.
I was getting all the
Two-stroke before
pollutants
he's
in
a
his
bit,
system.
so
Hell yeah.
Don't take him too seriously. That being said, he does have a point. And two-stroke engines are indeed very fun. They're very fun because they're extremely power dense. And they're capable of this very impressive power density because they use both the area above and below the piston. In a reciprocating piston engine, one stroke equals 180 degrees of crankshaft rotation. And a four-stroke requires 4 strokes to complete one full combustion cycle. Going from top dead center to bottom dead center, we have our first stroke, which is intake, during which air and fuel enter the cylinder. The piston then goes back up and compresses the air-fuel mixture, which is our second stroke. The air-fuel mixture is then combusted and pushes the
bumps out of
piston
them
back
4
down
strokes,
to
hell
bottom
yeah.
dead center, which is our third stroke. And finally, the piston goes back up and pushes the exhaust gases out from the engine, which is our final 4th stroke. But a two-stroke engine does all of this, intake, compression, combustion, exhaust, in half the time of a four-stroke. And that's because it can do 2 things at once. As the two-stroke piston moves up, it creates a vacuum below it. And so the air and fuel mixture enters through the crankcase and accumulates below the piston. At the same time, as the piston goes up, it is also compressing the air and fuel mixture already above it. So it's actually doing intake and compression at the same time. When the piston reaches top dead center, the air and fuel mixture gets ignited and combustion pushes the piston down. As the piston moves further down, it uncovers the exhaust port and exhaust gases vacate the cylinder. But at the same time, as the piston moves further down, it pushes the air and fuel mixture already below it into the transfer port, which it also uncovers as it moves even further down. The fresh air and fuel enters above the piston, ready to be compressed and ignited again. In other words, everything happened within 360 degrees of engine rotation, and every time the piston is at top dead center, combustion will occur. In a four-stroke, combustion only occurs every other time the piston is at top dead center.
The hell is this ad, bro? Like, who's actually, like, I can't believe people or companies pay money to put these kind of ads out there. Like, who the hell is downloading this?
Twice the combustion events or power pulses within the same period of time theoretically means twice the power. On top of this, a two-stroke doesn't need valves and valve springs and lifters and rockers and cams and camshafts. It's far more simple and lightweight than a four-stroke, which is why it easily beats the four-stroke in terms of power per kilogram or pound of engine mass. Okay, if two-strokes are more power dense, then why are four-strokes the dominant mainstream engine powering the world? Well, the reason is that a two-stroke engine, as we just described it, has three big disadvantages: fuel inefficiency, emissions unfriendliness, and poor longevity. If we have air and fuel both above and below the piston, then that means that we cannot have a large quantity of engine oil lubricating the crankshaft and connecting rod and cylinder and piston skirt. If we did, all that oil would be pushed through the transfer port and it would end up above the piston, where it would immediately kill any hopes of combustion occurring. This is why a two-stroke is immediately
Make
kill
sure I'm
any
able to
hopes of
digest what he
combustion
said.
occurring. This is why a two-stroke is lubricated kill any hopes of combustion. End up above all that shaft and connecting rod and cylinder and piston skirt. If we did, all that oil would be pushed through the transfer port and it would end up above the piston, where it would immediately kill any hopes of combustion occurring. This is why a two-stroke is lubricated using only a minimal amount of oil that is mixed with the fuel. Usually the ratio of fuel to lubricating oil is around 50:1 in a modern two-stroke. This reduced lubrication means that engine components simply can't last as long. The fact that we have oil in the fuel means that oil will get inevitably burned together with the fuel, which of course leads to poor emissions. The other reason we have poor emissions is that the exhaust port of a two-stroke is always open. So when the air and fuel mixture comes out of the transfer port and goes above the piston, and the piston continues moving up, there exists a period of time during which the air and fuel mixture is free to escape out the exhaust port. And that's exactly what happens. Some fresh unburned fuel always goes right out the exhaust port before the piston moves further up and closes off this exit pathway. What we can do is make funky-looking exhaust chambers that push some of that air and fuel mixture back into the cylinder using the power of sound. But even these are far from completely efficient, and some unburned fuel will always escape. Of course, spitting unburned fuel right out the exhaust leads to poor fuel efficiency and a further worsening of the emissions. So the two-stroke has a few problems. Okay, but we still want that power density. Well, let's try to do something right here, right now. Let's try to fix the problems of the two-stroke while keeping the power density. First up, let's get rid of the transfer port completely. We want longevity, and if we want longevity, then we must have better lubrication. If we get rid of the transfer port, we can have oil below the piston lubricating everything, and we won't need to mix oil into the fuel, which means we're also improving emissions because we won't be burning oil anymore. Now, if we remove the transfer port, that also means that we must not let air and fuel come through the crankcase anymore, otherwise it will again end up below the piston. So now the intake port must also be relocated from the crankcase to the cylinder. The final problem we need to fix is fresh fuel escaping out the exhaust port and ruining our efficiency. So let's turn that into an exhaust port with an exhaust valve on top of the cylinder head, just like on a four-stroke. So let's see how this engine would work. Let's imagine combustion just occurred and the piston is going down. Of course, during combustion, we keep the exhaust valve closed, and as the piston goes down, torque is generated, and the air and fuel mixture burns and turns into exhaust gas. We open the exhaust valve, and of course, some of that pressurized exhaust gas escapes until pressure in the chamber equalizes with outside atmospheric pressure. When pressure equalizes, we will still have a significant amount of exhaust gas inside the cylinder. As the piston keeps going down, it uncovers the intake port and a major problem in our design. Remember, the exhaust gas still left in the cylinder is at atmosphere.
Fortunately, I'm going to have to add this to watch later. Where is that at? Not sure. All right. I'm gonna add this video to watch later because it looks pretty interesting. All right. This one as well. Why not? Yeah, I gotta go to work. Sorry for the short stream today. Definitely wanna, the next probably 3 days I'll have longer, more regular streams, so we can really, get into the nitty gritty of learning and yeah, that whole process. As always, get out there, learn, yeah, enjoy life.